Hey there, welcome back to the Steel City Sports Podcast. Today we are talking Week 1 power rankings. We had a very strange week of football. A lot of upsets. Obviously, the biggest story, Aaron Rodgers out for the season. We're going to talk about all that and more in today's power rankings. Kicking off our power rankings at number 10, we have the Green Bay Packers. They were not on last week's power rankings, so they are making their debut here at 10, beating the Bears 38-20. Now, I know the Bears are not the most impressive team to beat, but what I saw from Jordan Love, I think, was a standout. Jordan Love looked extremely comfortable in this offense, and he was kind of like what I said he would be. He's not going to light up the highlight reel, although he had one incredible cross body throw to Aaron Jones that led to like a 50 or 60-yard gain, which was great. But overall, he's not going to light up the highlight reel, but he looked very poised. He made very good throws, no interceptions, very clean game from him. And I think this just shows that the Packers, they're a really good team. And it still kind of like boggles me that Aaron really wanted out of this team, because this team has a lot of talent, especially the defense looks really good. As for the Bears, I mean, I think the Bears are going to be really bad this year. There were people like saying Justin Fields was going to be in the MVP conversation. I think that's laughable. He just looks kind of lost out there, and I don't think that's all his fault. I think that the Bears are just poorly run, but the Packers, they're off to a really good start. I really liked what I saw from Jordan Love, and this just seems to be a very complete team. And I think the Packers, they could genuinely challenge for a wild card spot in the NFC. Coming in at number 9, we have the New York Jets. So obviously the big story with the Jets is Aaron Rodgers is out for the season with an Achilles injury. And it's just a shame. It's just a very unfortunate situation, because this Jets team, they came out and they really impressed me on Monday Night Football. A lot of teams out there, if their leader goes down, they're going to probably just give up. There's going to be very low morale. But these guys on defense, they played their asses off. I mean, they looked like a Super Bowl level defense, especially, Jordan Whitehead probably just made the Pro Bowl off of one game. So he looked incredible. The defense overall, Quinnen Williams was incredible. And despite all that, like the offense, it brings up a lot of question marks for me, because the defense is great, but the offense, I still think even if Aaron had not gotten down, at least for this game, obviously it'd be different for the entire season, but at least for this game, I think Aaron would have struggled a little, just because the offensive line looked awful for the Jets on Monday Night Football. It seemed like Zach Wilson was running for his life. I mean, every play it looked like he was running out of the pocket because it was collapsing so fast. But you got to give the Jets their props. I don't expect them to stay in the power rankings just because long term, I don't expect them to have much success with Zach Wilson. Look at last year. But for this week to beat the Buffalo Bills, who a lot of people have, I had them as a Super Bowl contender. I think I alluded to this before the season started, is you're starting to see some cracks in the foundation of the Bills. They don't look as invincible as they once did. I think a lot of that is the Brian Daboll departure, because he kind of cleaned up Josh Allen's mistakes, and I think he made him more efficient. Ever since Daboll's been gone, I think Josh Allen's had 39 turnovers total, which is just awful. And that Jets defense, they really capitalized on that and made Josh Allen look awful. In at number 8, we have our only losing team on this week's power rankings, and that is the reigning Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm not trying to take anything away from the Detroit Lions victory, and I made a video about that when it happened. I thought it was a great game. Not that the teams played great, but it was fun to watch. As for the Chiefs, this isn't going to be what the Chiefs look like. You're missing your second and third best player. Obviously, I think Travis Kelce was a much bigger loss for this team than Chris Jones was, because I thought the defense looked fine without Chris Jones. I feel like now that Chris Jones is back, he's kind of just going to be like a cherry on top, because that defense looked really good without him. Despite what the sack totals say, they were getting pressures the entire game on Jared Goff, despite the Lions having a top 3 offensive line in the NFL. But the big thing, like I said, going forward is Travis Kelce will be back. He was severely missed, and I thought Mahomes despite not having really any help on offense, still had a pretty good game. I mean, the amount of drops that his receivers had, I still think he had a pretty good performance. He had 2 touchdowns. Kadarius Toney, I think, really costed the Chiefs this game single-handedly, because not only did you have the drop that led to a pick six from Brian Branch, but you also had, I think, 1 or 2 other drops that would have directly led to touchdowns, where he was like wide open deep down the field and there was no one near him. So Kadarius Toney, I mean, he was awful. He really costed the Chiefs this game. And I think that the Chiefs, like, yeah, you lost, it sucks, but there's a lot of good to take away from this. Because like I said, you're getting Kelsey and Jones back. And hopefully, for his sake, Kadarius Toney doesn't play like that for the rest of the year. Hopefully this is an outlier for him. But I still have high expectations for the Chiefs. That's why they're still in the power rankings. Coming at number 7, we have another team making their debut on the power rankings, and that is the Detroit Lions. We just talked about them in that Chiefs segment. Well, this was a monumentous win for the Lions to, going forward, just building up their culture, all the crap that this team has been through for decades, and now it looks like they're finally putting something pretty good together up there in Detroit. I mean, old Detroit Lions teams would have found a way to lose this game. I mean, it looked like when Mahomes got the ball on that final drive, it looked like he was just going to go boom, boom, boom down the field, and the Lions were going to blow yet another big game. That is not what this Detroit Lions team is. This Detroit Lions is special. I really do, and that's why I picked them to win the NFC North this year. They play with absolute passion. It all comes from the head coach. You could tell. Really good head coaches, they put their stamp on a team, and the players reflect their head coach. And these players reflect Dan Campbell. They played with heart. They played with passion. Jared Goff was really good in this game. He was extremely efficient, despite, like I said earlier, about the Chiefs. They were getting a lot of good pressures on Jared Goff, and I still thought he played well. I mean, early on he struggled, but as the game went on, I think he improved. And then the defense had some standouts as well. I think Aiden Hutchinson is poised to be a monster in the NFL. And I still, to this day, don't understand why the Jags passed up on him. Of course, Brian Branch having that pick six in his first NFL game. I think he's going to be really good. The Lions, they're much improved. They get a massive win here, not only in the win column, but also just for morale-wise, building your culture up there in Detroit. There's something really special brewing up there. Coming in at number 6, we have the Cleveland Browns. And like I said in that intro, we had a weird week of football. This was the weirdest matchup by far. The Browns completely embarrassing the Bengals. And if you didn't watch my power rankings before the season started, the Bengals were my number 1 team on that list. They're not on this week's power rankings because of what the Cleveland Browns did to them. They completely and utterly obliterated the Bengals. Now, I know that they've had the Bengals numbers since Burrow's been there, but wow. I mean, they couldn't get a first down. They didn't even score a touchdown. I mean, there were some monstrous performances this week, like the Niners, the Rams. The Bengals didn't even get a touchdown. I mean, the Browns look incredible in this game. This is bad for Steeler fans, obviously, like me. If the Browns are good, we have a very small shot of making the playoffs. So I'm hoping this is an outlier for the Browns, but they played a phenomenal game. Their defense looked elite. Their defense looked incredible. And I know that they have some names on there, but they've struggled in years past to really put the defense together as a whole. They looked dominant against the Bengals. Deshaun Watson did his job. He played a very good game for his standards, especially coming off that pitiful year last year. He really had a standout performance. So we'll see if the Browns continue on this. They have my Steelers this upcoming week. I know the Bengals always get off to a slow start, but wow, not even scoring a touchdown. And at number 5, we have the only team from last week that stayed at their exact same position, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They went into Indianapolis and they handled their business. It wasn't the most impressive win in the world. They beat them by 10, so I give them credit for the win. I mean, Trevor Lawrence played a good game. Calvin Ridley, I think, had a nice standout performance. There's not much to speak about this game. I will say for the Colts side, though, Anthony Richardson looked really good in his debut. He didn't have a single interception, which I expected him to have a lot of turnovers just because, number one, he's a rookie, but number two, the Colts don't really have much to work with in terms of weapons. So I was not expecting the Colts to keep this. I thought this was going to be a full-on blowout. That's why I'm not giving the Jags as much praise. They won the game, so I give them credit. I'm leaving them at 5, but I thought there was going to be a much bigger margin than 10 points. Coming in at number 4, up 3 spots, we have the Miami Dolphins. What did I say about this team in the offseason? I said they could threaten to be the best offense in the NFL. Statistically, Tua was the best quarterback week 1. Statistically, Tyreek Hill was by far, not even close, the best receiver in the NFL. I mean, they destroyed the Chargers. And I know that the Chargers, they've struggled with building up their defense in the Staley era. I made a post about it the other day about how dreadfully bad Brandon Staley is and how he's disserviced Justin Herbert. Because if you're a defensive head coach, that already takes away from the team because you're not contributing to the offense in today's NFL offensive league. But you should at least be able to get your side of the ball control. Like, I have criticism of Sean McDermott. He's gotten the defensive side of the ball under control. Brandon Staley has stars, and he still can't get them up. And the Dolphins, despite all that star power on the Chargers' defense, they killed him. They couldn't guard Tyreek Hill. They absolutely bludgeoned them. Now, I will say, I know it's only week 1, so I don't want to overreact too much to this part of the take. The defense for the Dolphins definitely let me down. I know you're going against a top 5 quarterback, but he put up 34 points on you. I thought this defense was going to be vastly improved, bringing in Vic Fangio, and I think they have some nice personnel on that team. So I'm looking for the Dolphins. Obviously, we all knew about the offense being incredible, but I thought the defense was going to be a little better. That was the only thing that kind of disappointed me, but what a great game. Especially for Tua and Tyreek. That puts them here at 4. And at number 3, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. They dropped down 1 spot from last week. And you might be asking, they won their game. Why did you drop them down a spot? Well, it wasn't that impressive of a win. They only won by 5 points. I thought they were going to absolutely bludgeon the New England Patriots. Like, they covered the spread and all that, but this Patriots offense had no business looking as good as it did against the Eagles defense, which I think you can argue the Eagles have a top 3 defense in the NFL. So that for me is pretty disappointing. I know, again, it's only week 1, but for Mac Jones, who struggled so bad last year, completely outplayed Jalen Hurts. It wasn't even close. Mac Jones had a far better game than Jalen Hurts did. And I think for the Eagles offense, they definitely missed Shane Steichen. The offense did not look as flashy, as poppy as it did last year. There were very little designed runs for Jalen Hurts. So, yeah, I'm gonna leave them up here. The 3 is still very high because I still have high aspirations, high hopes for them. But they won, but not the most impressive of wins. I really expected them to come out and just bludgeon the Patriots, which didn't happen. Coming in at number 2, the by far biggest jump on this list, up 8 spots from last week, the San Francisco 49ers. Now, this one, it sucked to talk about as a Steelers fan. If you watched that last week's Power Rankings, I had the Steelers above the 49ers because I thought the Steelers were going to win that game. Wow, I was wrong. I was wrong by a mile, a country mile. I mean, this was hard to watch. The 49ers completely and utterly just squashed us. And the biggest thing for me for the Steelers was I think I overrated our offensive line. The 49ers just completely exposed our offensive line with their defensive line, which is probably the best in football. It's either them or Philly. They just crushed us. We could not develop a run game at all. We had 9 total run attempts. Kenny Pickett looked panicked the entire game. And then you look at the Niners offense, which was just a well-oiled machine. Brock Purdy made all the right throws. He didn't have any turnovers, not that I can remember. Completely exposed the Steelers' defense. I thought we were going to have a really good defense this year. Well, at least in week 1, we looked flat out awful. I mean, the defense, especially the secondary, which I thought was going to be improved this year. Brandon Ayuk went off for probably the best game of his career. I mean, he destroyed Patrick Peterson in the end zone a couple times. and one actually directly led to a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey had an incredible game. This is just all around a dominant performance. And yeah, why did I have the Niners so low last week? I thought they were going to get off to a slower start. Being that Brock Purdy was coming off of an injury on his throwing arm, I thought Kittle wasn't even going to play, but he ended up playing. And then Bosa, I thought he'd be rusty. He didn't really do much, but he was still out there as a body, like a decoy. That didn't happen. They didn't get off to a slow start. They got off with a crazy start. They killed us, and they deserve to be up here. So whenever I do my power rankings, I ask myself, which team had the most impressive performance of the week? And that's typically the team that goes either one or very high on the list. And for Dallas, I was originally kind of writing it off like I didn't think the Giants were going to be that good this year anyways, so I don't know where to exactly rank this win, but 40-0 is, I mean, you cannot even put into words how dominant, how just disgraceful this is to the Giants. I mean, they embarrassed the Giants on primetime television. 40-0. I mean, God, this is the best defense in the NFL. I think you can pretty comfortably say that after what they did to the Giants. The Giants had a really nice year last year on offense with an offensive head coach. I contend Brian Daboll's like a top 5 offensive mind in the NFL. Look what this defense did to his offense. I mean, my God. They had 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, 5,000 sacks. Just wow. I mean, if you're a fan of defense, you would love this game. And in terms of the Dallas offense, Dak didn't do much, but that's when Dak's best. That's whenever Dak looks his best, is whenever they ask the least of him, and that's how this team is going to win a Super Bowl. If they do, it's take all the pressure off of Dak and just have that defense play monstrous. Because last year, they were a Super Bowl level defense. It looks like they're the same thing this year, if not even better. I mean, wow. So, Dallas, they get off to a phenomenal start. They're number 1 on the power rankings. That has been it for the Week 1 Power Rankings. If you made it this far, I appreciate you watching. Go ahead and leave your thoughts in the comments. Did I miss any teams that belong on the Power Rankings? And leave a like and subscribe. Thanks.